What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer for this episode, Logan Landers, and join me here this afternoon to break down the Atlanta Falcons, their very just perplexing loss last week to the New Orleans Saints, and hopefully to some better results this upcoming weekend against the Denver Broncos. Helping me out today, of course, is the very talented Mr. Cornel Hardy. Cornel, how you doing this afternoon, man?
Man, I'm doing well today, but Sunday, God was not pleased, man. I tell you,
No.
man, that was a game in itself, man. I was there. And
Oh,
then
you were there.
oh yeah, I
Oh.
was there, man. The atmosphere was I hate to say it for the New Orleans Saints fans, the
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere was electric. But as for the Atlanta Falcons fans, yeah, we took over, but at the end, the Saints took over. We had Bourbon Street on lockdown. We had the hotels on lockdown. We had the sports bars on lockdown. But when we got to the stadium, the Saints fans took over.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like I said, I know you had a good time all in all. It's just that was a light, just a light to hurt your mood a little bit with that one on Sunday.
Yeah.
But we're about halfway through the week now. We've had some time to look at it. We're going to talk about it a little bit today and just kind of figure out just what the heck went wrong and how they can fix it against these Denver Broncos. But before we talk about it, guys, if you enjoy the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Facebook and YouTube, best two platforms to do so. So, Cornell, you were at the game. You sat out there in as the Saints beat the Falcons last week, as we know, 20-17. Ultimately, everyone knows the kind of big story out of that game was Younghoe Koo, who for as long as he's been in the league has been pretty much money. He missed 3 field goals on the day. That cost you 9 points, and that would have given you the win ultimately. But is it right to place all of the blame on him in this ball game, or do you think that some other people need to maybe get some of the flack as well?
You know what? I won't place the blame on Younghoe Koo. Yeah, he was inconsistent. He missed 2 field goals that we could have won the game, but also 1 field goal was blocked. So therefore, that the protection wasn't there as for that blocked field goal. But something that straightly really disgusted me was that we talk about the bookends, we talk about the pass rush. Think about it now. We lost 17-20, but we had not a single sack that entire game.
Mm.
Not a single sack. And the radio stations, everybody talk about it over and over again about the bookends, about no pressure to the quarterback. Derek Carr is inconsistent at times, but sometimes he has that big play. And he had 2 big plays at that game. And Alvin Kamara, like I said, he was handling his business as well. We could not stop Kamara. We had mismatches with Kamara. And, even that drop ball he had, I think he just gave that to us because he's from the ATL. So, hey, it's what it is.
Little
But like,
present to us.
but like I said, the sack, man, we had not a single sack that whole entire game. And I seen the video where Younghoe Koo was going to the locker room after the game, Arthur Blank, put him to the side, you know what I'm saying, and walked him to the locker room. I guess give him some encouragement. But if that was Arthur Blank, yeah, I would have gave him some encouragement, but I would have made a phone call to Fontenot and say, hey, let's find another kicker. Pretty much, man. But I blame it on no pressure to the quarterback, man. Because we had pressure to the quarterback, man, we could have sustained Derek Carr, and Derek Carr wouldn't have had it instead of firing on us on that week. Last week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's something that I've brought up before on the show with the Falcons. It might have been 2 weeks ago, even just in terms of their offense. We've seen it's starting to click. It's starting to look pretty solid, but the defense, and like we're saying here, more so getting to the quarterback, getting pressure on the quarterback. It's just for whatever reason, it's not there. I mean, when you look at this Falcons team, Cornell, they are dead last in the league when it comes to sacks. They don't even got double digits. They got 9.
Dead last in the league when it comes to sacks, man. But also too, you know what I'm saying? The offense was doing. I mean, Kirk Cousins he was 23 for 38 for 306 yards. He had 1 INT. Bijan Robinson was 20 for 116. He had 2 TDs. The offense they put the points up. The defense just did not execute. It seemed like there was a miscommunication amongst the secondary. And also, too, the matchups, man. I mean, it's like they had a lot of it wasn't there. They had no name wide receivers out there just ripping us up apart. And they made Derek Carr look like a rock star out there, which he never is all the time. So basically, the Falcons, hey, I got to give them a D- this past Sunday.
No, I mean, I think that's fair criticism. This is a game that they should have won, all in all. You mentioned Derek Carr has been inconsistent at times. They didn't have their top wide receiver in Chris Olave. And the one key factor we haven't touched on, Cornell, they had a brand new head coach.
A brand new head coach.
This was his first ever game that he coached, and he beat the top seeded in terms of the NFC South Atlanta Falcons. And one of the Falcons' only 2 divisional games left in the season.
But at the same time, like I talked about it last week, you know what I'm saying, that these guys are playing for their jobs.
Yep.
They're playing for another contract. They're playing for opportunity to stay with the Saints or either get traded or either get picked up by another team. You know, we're always aware that Fontenot came from the Saints organization. So, you know, one thing I said when they was booing us and they was talking trash to us going out of Superdome, I said, y'all better hope that Fontenot don't pick up half of these players and bring them to the Falcons organization. But Rizzi, he's a special team coach. Those players play for him, man. So this was his game, man. So I think they was motivated to get this game for Rizzi, man. And, you know, since he's the interim head coach, but, you know what I'm saying, he's been with the organization quite some time, man. And those players, they play for him, man. Somewhat similar to, you know, the Raiders when Antonio Pierce became the head coach. Those players played for him as well. I'm not saying about this year, but I'm just saying last year.
Right. I'm about to say those 2 different stories, and that's another episode for another day. But
yes, sir.
Let's look ahead to this week. We've been on the therapist chair. We got it all out. Let's look ahead. Let's talk about these Denver Broncos who come into this matchup kind of like a quiet 5-5. And also, let's not forget, they're coming off back-to-back losses. However, if it wasn't for a blocked field goal, there was a very good chance they were going to upset the Chiefs last week and end their undefeated streak on the season. So how do you view the Denver Broncos coming into this game, Cornell, in a battle of the NFC versus AFC?
It is crazy because the thing about the Denver Broncos, man, as far as offensive wise, their passing yards, they're ranked 28th in the league. They ranked 20th in rushing yards. They only average about 117 yards per game. And the total yards per game, they ranked 25th in the league right now. The passing yards, they average about 186 yards per game, like I said, which is ranked 28th. But what is very surprising with the Denver Broncos is their defense. So points per game is they averaging 17.7 points per game, which is 4th in the league. Total yards per game, they're giving away 295 total yards per game, which is ranked 5th in the league. Now, as far as passing yards per game, they're giving 192 yards per game, but it's ranked number 10th in the league. And rushing yards per game, they're only giving 103 yards per game, which is ranked 7th. And this is what's surprising. They're ranked number 2 in the league with sacks. Overall, right now, they have 35 sacks, which is, and they rank 13th with seven INTs, which is like, but the offense is ranked 22nd, 25th, 28th with passing yards, 25th in total yards per game, and 22nd in points scored on them per game. So the offense is like the exact opposite of the defense. And like with us as the Falcons, we're great on offense, but we kind of suck on defense every now and then. We have inconsistency right there. And their guy, Nick Bonanito, he got 7 sacks for the league for the year so far. And Jonathan Cooper got 6.5 sacks. Zach Allen got 5 sacks. And John Franklin Meyer, he has 5 sacks. And Patrick Surtain, who we know his dad used to play in the NFL as well, he leads them with 3 INTs. So that tells you, like, hey, we got a problem that we got to fix right now, because if their defense is consistent like this, they put pressure on us, we may have a problem come Sunday against the Broncos. And we already know who Sean Payton is. Sean Payton came from the New Orleans Saints, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have a package ready for us against the Falcons.
Very well could. Obviously, we know he's had many of these battles before with New Orleans. Now with a brand new team, we'll see how he does. And the interesting thing, like you said, is that they're doing all this too. Their defense is stout in terms of they're getting to the quarterback, they're getting picks, they're putting pressure on great teams. Like I said, they only allowed 16 points to the back-to-back Super Bowl champions last week.
Yeah,
the Chiefs. That's impressive. Like I said, if it wasn't for a blocked field goal, they would have won that game.
Exactly.
So that is how close this team was to pulling off one of the biggest upsets of the season. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes sometimes. But what I like about this Denver team is, yes, they're 5-5 in most of the times. 5-5, that's not nothing. but they're an impressive 5-5. They're doing all this with a rookie quarterback, also, mind you, in Bo Nix, who it kind of depends with Bo because some days he'll look good, some days he'll be a little bit rough. On the year, he averages around 196.8 yards per game, 63% completion percentage. He's got 6 interceptions compared to 10 touchdowns. He's been sacked 17 times on the year. Those aren't eye-popping numbers, right? That's not numbers you'll get in Madden and you'll get a bunch of points from. But I mean, he's holding it down, right? He's doing his best in his first season. Definitely a learning curve. When you look at their running game, it's just a little bit of everyone, right? There's no true stout running back in a sense. I mean, Javonte Williams is your leading rusher with 388 yards, but he only averages 3.8 yards per carry and only gets 38 yards a game. So there isn't a one guy fits all type of guy for this running team. But I will say, though, they average 117 yards per game as a team. That's between Williams. That's also between Bo Nix, and that's also between their third running back in Jaleel McLaughlin. They all get those yards for the most part. So running game just kind of depends. We know Nix can scramble if need be, and Williams and McLaughlin are just kind of there to eat some clock and get a couple of yards if they can. Look at the receiving core. Cortland Sutton is a name who you've heard about for years. He's having a solid season, right? 500-plus yards receiving for the young man. He's looked good this year. 3 touchdowns as well. He averages 13.5 yards per catch. He gets about 56 yards per game, which is more than any other receiver on this team. But other than that, I mean, it's just kind of a committee of guys. Javonte Williams is your second leading receiver with 222 yards. Everyone else has about 200 or less. So, I mean, if you can shut down Cortland Sutton, which we do have some solid players, of course, with Terrell on the corners. If he can have a lockdown game, that would help out tremendously. So we've got to hone in on Sutton. But like you said, the way the Falcons win this game is if they halt that defense. If the O-line shows up to play this week, if they can protect Kirk Cousins, because, look, we know Kirk's not agile. He never really was, but he ain't now, especially after the Achilles injuries he had. So you got to give him time to protect. And we know, Cornel, that these guys are absolute monsters when it comes to getting to the quarterback. You read the stats. We know how impressive they are on defense. So like the old saying goes, man, battles are won and lost in the trenches. And this one, you can chalk that one up to it too, because if the Falcons O-line does not hold up, I think Denver can pull off the upset in this one. But if they do, Atlanta's got a really good shot, I think, at pulling this win off. And honestly, it's a win that they kind of need in a sense to just get your momentum back after that heartbreaking loss last week. You want to get back in good graces because look at the rest of their schedule real quick for the Falcons. Obviously we've got Denver this upcoming week, but then, like I said, we've played 10 games so far, 6-4. Got Denver this week, who's 5-5. But then you've got the Chargers, who have been a nice surprise this year. The Vikings, who started off hot, and they've kind of waned a little bit. You got the Raiders, who should be an easy win. The Giants, who should be an easy win. And then you got the Commanders. Toss-up. You never know. And then the Panthers, it better be a win. I don't know what happened. So, I mean, this is going to be one of the more tougher tasks for Atlanta this week with Denver, but I think ultimately they will pull it out. Final score in this one for me, I'll go. Let's go 28-21. I think Atlanta will look good this week, and they'll get the win once again. You check this game out on Sunday. It's going to be a 4:05 Eastern kick. It's going to be a good game, I think, as the Falcons travel out to Denver to the Mile High City to take on the Broncos. Cornel, any final thoughts here before we wrap things up today?
Well, I think, like I said, you gave your score. I think the score is going to be 24-21. Young Wade Koo will win it for us, and he'll get back in consistency as well. As far as with anything else, like I said, it's gonna be a great game. I think as well, if we put pressure on Bo Nix, and also too, because what Denver's gonna try to do is they're gonna try to establish the run and try to do a little play action, but it's not going to work because they really don't have a running game. Right. But the thing is that we got to get some sacks, man. And I'm sorry, Raheem Morris. I'm sorry, Ra, but we got to find a bookend somewhere. I talked about it many weeks before about Shaquille Leonard, man. Look him up, check his stats, man. Bring him on in or something like that, man. But we got to do something, man. But otherwise than that, man, you know what I'm saying? Go Falcons. I'm still on your side, man. But, hey, taking that six-hour ride over there, man, and sitting beside this voodoo lady, man, talking all this mess, man. I'm telling you, man, y'all should have won that game for us. They to make it so bad, man. They played our music in the dome, and they won with our music. It's just crazy, man. But anyway, otherwise than that, we got to win this coming Sunday, man, against the Denver Broncos, man. Keep hope alive. Rise up. I'm not going to the board today because the thing about it is, if I go to the board, I'm just going to put a frown face because I'm still sad that I spent all this money down there. But anyway, we back. We going to be back, man. We going to do what we got to do, man. Go Falcons. That's all I got to say.
All right. Guys, you heard it here first. Drop your comments. Put the final score, who you think is going to win this game. Will the Falcons pass rush finally show up 10 weeks into the season? Can we get here against the Broncos? I hope so. Cornel hopes so also. We'll find out on Sunday afternoon. Once again, for Cornel Hardy, our guest today, appreciate you coming on the show and talking about the Falcons. And hopefully next week we'll be in better spirits. You can go back to the board, so it won't just be a frowny face. We can put some stats up there, and hopefully it's a bunch of Falcon sacks that they're going to have this game. That would be tremendous. But I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, enjoy your weekends. We'll talk to you again on another live episode. We'll see you then.